Hey, welcome to project number 5, and this one here, this magical beautiful night sky with the meadow in the front, is what we're going to be painting today. So let's have a look at the colors that we need for this one. So we need to start with quinacridone gold, transparent brown, paint gray, a little bit of dark green, and most importantly cadmium red and lavender. And of course a little bit of white gouache. So here you go. If you're ready, let's get started with this one. All right, let us start. So we're going to sketch out the horizon line and go for around 1/3 down on the paper. So here's my compass with my pencil attached. I'm using that for the sketch right now because we're going to need the compass later on. So have it ready, right? And here you go. Roughly, that's what is the horizon line going to be. I'm just drawing it very, very lightly, as you can see. And for now, that is our pencil sketch. And we're going to paint the sky part, all right? So let's go ahead and apply water to the whole of our paper. So here you go. Apply water nicely and evenly. But for now, you can either apply just to the top of our painting, okay, or you can just apply to the whole part. It's not going to affect much considering that the color at the bottom is also going to be a darker color, okay? So here you go. Let's go ahead and apply water to the paper and the whole of the paper, okay? I am doing that. If you want, you can split it up. It's absolutely fine, okay? It's not going to affect your painting at all, honestly. So just go ahead and apply water nicely and evenly. And now this is the point where we want to make sure that the water is even and not forming any large pools of water anywhere. So here you go. I've tilted my board slightly so that all the excess water can flow down and nothing will stay on the top of the paper, okay? So let's see, just making sure that my paper has nice consistency of the water, okay? So I think that's more than good enough. So now I'm going to just grab my cloth and absorb the excess water from the sides like we always do. So here you go. That's my excess water from the sides and also breaking up the excess water at this bottom so that I can absorb it all, and the same from the top region as well. All right, there you go. That's all the excess water absorbed, and now our paper is ready to go. So let's go ahead and start painting. So here I'm grabbing my size 6, or you can even go with the size 8 brush. You know what, let's go one size larger because it will cover a larger surface area, and that's what we want, isn't it? So here you go. Just gonna grab my brush and we are going to start painting. So here I am going to start with a nice quinacridone color, okay, quinacridone gold, which is already here on my palette. So I'm just going to mix in that same area, okay, making sure that it's a nice watery paint because this is the first time that we are actually painting on our paper. Okay, so here just dropping the color at random, okay? You want to create some nice streaks, maybe not too dense color. It just needs to be a little bit of a golden yellow color. That's it, okay? Nothing towards that top region, maybe more to this bottom area. Now I want it to be a little bit more golden, so here I'm grabbing the golden color, okay, and adding as an extra layer over the top of what we've already done. Not towards the top, just at that bottom region, and also here maybe, because I want it to be a little bit more denser golden color. See how that's turned out? The same here at the bottom, okay? There you go. That's more than enough. Now we're going to quickly grab our paint gray because we need the whole thing to be dark. But remember what I've always used to say about paint gray, where if you just add one layer of paint gray, it's not going to be dark enough. So what we're now going to do is we're going to grab the dark brown color instead, and we're going to apply this. And also, because this brown color does not have a green pigment or any blue pigment inside it, it will not mix with the yellow to create any green. Whereas if you directly apply the Payne's Gray actually has a green component in it, and it can make literally create sorry, did I say green component? I meant blue component in it, because it's a little bit on the grayish side, and that can create a lot of greens on our paper. Okay, so we don't want that. What we need is just a nice black color and a nice fiery night sky. Okay, so here you go. What we're going to do is we are going to apply water. Make sure that you are taking nice dense pigment, and go ahead and mix it up like that. Fill up the areas of the gaps in between. See how we're doing that? Okay, so anywhere closer to the yellow, we're going to apply this brown color, okay, because that will give the dense sky a nice color when we actually apply the black on the top. All right. So towards the bottom, you can lighten up the tone, but not absolutely necessary. But here you go, just blending the whole thing, making sure that I have enough color down there. And see, we reached up to the horizon line. Okay, so you can paint towards the bottom, but I'd rather not paint with the brown, but with the Payne's Gray instead when I am painting towards the bottom. Okay, so now I'm just reinforcing the brown color in all of those areas. Okay, there you go, fitted that one nicely. Now time for Payne's Gray. Okay, there you go, grabbing Payne's Gray and starting over the top, making darker areas where it's supposed to be really nice and dark. I want this region to be dark. But now with your Payne's Gray, you are not going to go to any of the black area, sorry, the yellow areas. Okay, so here you go, along the edge. Okay, so that brown is going to stay, and you're not going to touch the yellow areas. Okay, so here just only on top of the brown is where you're going to apply your Payne's Gray. So you can pick up nice dense pigment while you do this, because it's very important that we get and cover up our sky. So you can see here not going to my yellow, just over the brown, so that black area is actually gonna have like a touch of brown towards the edges of it, and then the rest of the areas will be like covered in black. Okay, so that's what we want to aim here. So here going with the black, and here again that's going to be a little bit cloudy there. And as I come down, now it's just pure Payne's Gray, which we're going to apply towards the bottom. And you will see here exactly what I mean by not having an undertone, because see the color difference. This is going to literally lighten up a lot, and you will see the entire difference of what I am talking about, and how this changes the look on your painting, because this is very, very light, and because of the brown undertone there, it's very light, in fact. Okay, and that's what we want, isn't it? Okay, so what I want to do is I'm just going to grab a little bit more of that golden color. I'm going to make sure that my paper stays wet in the areas that it should, and the color mixes out nicely. Okay, but if your paper has started to dry out, do not do this process. Also, now I've just washed my brush. What I'm going to do is, can you see where the gray has not blended in with the brown over this region? Like here's a harsh line. I want to get rid of that harsh line. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to use my brush to blend in slowly. Okay, just make sure you blend in nicely. Okay, now grabbing the Payne's Gray where I can go over to the edges. Okay, this is where I want it to be nice and dark. Now, just gonna grab my Payne's Gray again, and I am gonna paint more of the bottom region now. Okay, but still this paint is going to literally lighten up, and that's the reason why I'm painting. It's not going to turn out as black as the top region. Okay, so you're free to go ahead and still add the paint in this manner, as you can see, and there you go. I have added the paint, okay, and it all looks black right now, but trust me, when this dries up, you are going to see the color pop up. Okay, so there you go. Let's go ahead and wait for this to dry, because this is our first layer. All right, here you go. Here's how it looks after it's completely dried, and see what I mean? See the darkness here, and see how it has lightened up over this region. So this is exactly what I said, isn't it? Because it's the nature of watercolors. They turn out one shade lighter, and for the reason why I'm using is paint gray, so it's a gray, so it's going to turn out gray. Only in its densest combination would it become black like this. And I don't like to use black in my palette, so I always shift to paint gray and then manipulate that paint gray in different ways. As in, if I need to get black, I give it an undertone, and I also would take a very darker tone, a tonal value of that paint. And if I needed a lighter, I would go for a lighter shade, that is a lighter tone. So it helps me to control the way the gray paint moves on my paper. Okay, so now that we've done that, my horizon line is somewhere over there, and that's where I am going to paint right now. Okay, so here what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a green color, and I want a dark green color. So here I'm mixing paint gray with that. So this is like a color almost like, I believe, perylene black. If you have that, that's this color. So we want it to be a nice almost dark color. Okay, so now I need to figure out where my line is. It's almost not visible. So what you can actually do is, if you want, you can go ahead and make that line over again. It's absolutely fine, not going to affect. But now I can actually see my line there. I know it's not visible probably in the camera, but then I can see it, and that's more than enough for me to trace my line to get that horizon line. And then you can see it's this greenish color, and you also want to paint quick because you don't want your strokes to dry out. So here I am just putting the color, paint gray, but I'm also mixing and using a lot of water so that I am able to bring my paint down, okay, because towards the bottom I want it to be more grayish and a little bit of the dark at the top. So this is where it's very tricky by understanding what perspective is. So I always say your darker tones should be at the bottom, but that's only during the day. During the night, the darker tones are towards the top, because as you come closer to the viewer, you are able to see more details of what's happening. Did you understand? So those details would be here, which means it's going to be more lighter there because that's closer to the viewer. So here you go, a little bit more on the darker side there. So we've kind of painted that. Now let's put in a bit more dark there. So I've just grabbed my paint gray in a very dark consistency, and I'm going to place it there so that it's more dark, just like we've talked. Okay, and then as I come down, it's getting lighter and lighter, and I will not paint towards the bottom there. Okay, so here you go, add it and just blending along to the bottom so that it's a nice gradient down there. Okay, so now this is the second layer done, and we are going to dry this up. All right, so here you go, it's done, and the color was almost not visible when we were painting because it was wet, but now after it dried up, you can clearly see what I've done there and what I've tried to achieve. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the same color, the green and the paint cream mixture, okay, and we're going to create like maybe like a background mountain or something, just to depict that this is not actually some water body, but rather I don't know, like a field. But that will be obvious as soon as we add in those flowers. But I still wanted to give, like, you know, a bushy effect or something there at the very end. Okay, maybe finish off there. Okay, so that's done there. Just grab in a bit of dark paint so that it's actually visible there. All right, now that part is done, And now the next thing is to probably add in some streaks again, but this time with the wet on dry method. So here I'm just grabbing my paint again, and I'm just going to add in some random streaky lines on the top. This is not water, this is just a random detailing. It'll make absolute sense as we add in the flower. It's just some shadow elements probably, you know, so it's just go ahead and create lines like that. Okay, and then once that is done, let us grab in a smallest brush. So here I'm just grabbing my size 2 brush, and now this is where it gets tricky. For this to work, you would need cadmium red, and if you don't have cadmium red, that's okay. And if you have like acrylic colors or gouache colors, in fact gouache would work perfectly. If you have that, you can substitute for this color that I'm adding right now. So this is cadmium red, very dense, very vibrant, and it is opaque, which means you can even paint this on a dark background, which is what we're gonna do right now. But before we proceed with that, we need to again discuss what we just talked about, but towards the back it's going to be a bit darker. So here I'm just grabbing my paint gray and I've mixed it into my red. That's probably not enough, so let me grab more red. Okay, so it'll be like a little bit more darker than the color that's gonna be there. Okay, so towards the front. So here, that is the color, and I'm just gonna do is we're going to drop in a lot of smaller dots. So remember, towards the back it should be smaller, teeny tiny ones. Okay, because perspective again. So based on perspective, your flowers, they're gonna be smaller, so you're gonna make these teeny tiny dots towards the back. Okay, see how we're making a lot of teeny tiny dots, and clearly you can see they are not at all visible. Okay, as in because they are at the back, but the color is opaque, so it's coming over on the top. See that? So we want to repeat the process. So this is what's actually going to take us more time to do, but so worth the effort where we're adding. So you can go ahead and add like clusters of flowers. Okay, so just a lot together, clustered together. So this is why we need to use the pointed tips of our brush, and as soon as we've added this, you can clearly see that it's become the fields that we were just talking about, isn't it? Where it's these beautiful flowers scattered everywhere. So let me just make a lot more over here, and then I'm going to slowly come down. Okay, what we're going to do is let's grab the paint and then just make these larger ones. So here, just making these, so they're poppy flowers, so you need to like try and make the shape of a poppy flower. Okay, but it may not be that perfectly visible, so don't be too tensed about it. So as you come towards the bottom, we need to make sure that they are a bit more bigger and nicely visible. Okay, it's towards the back that they actually get very, very dark. So I'm using the same paint right now because we will paint over the ones that we've painted towards the front. Okay, so this will also give it an additional layer of depth, which is exactly what we want. Okay, then I am also probably going to add in a little bit of splattering, because we're not done splattering yet, isn't it? So here you go, I've just grabbed a paper and we'll put in the splatters. The paper is to cover the top region so that our splatters don't fall on unnecessary areas. Okay, okay, there you go. That's a lot of splatters, and I need to clean my table because I hate the splatters on it. Okay, there you go. All right, now you can see it's become really, really, really dark, and it's kind of settling into the paper. That's okay. Now is the point where we're going to paint over it and reveal the lightness. Okay, so here grabbing just fresh cadmium red paint. Now we're gonna go over it, okay, but not on all the areas, just randomly. So this would give it that dual tone appearance where there are some of the lighter flowers and there are also some of these bright flowers casting itself as lit because of the moonlight. So that gives like a very dense look to our painting. Okay, so all of those ones in the front, make sure you cover them up nicely. Okay, let's see that one that needs to be very dense towards the front. Okay, can you see how gorgeous that's looking? So you want to make sure that you're picking up dense paint while you're doing this, else this process won't work. Okay, because this could also eventually light up if you are grabbing a paint that is full of water. So you want, that's why I'm not even mixing on my palette. I'm going directly from that slot there and applying onto my paper. Okay, very important that you do that. Oh, they are gorgeous. I just love the way this has turned out. Okay, there we go. Then let's see, that's almost done. Now let's put in a teeny tiny amount of lavender flowers. Okay, so lavender is again opaque color. So here I'm just going to mix it up on this right side here. Okay, here I'm mixing up on the right side because I just took out fresh paint, so that's like really wet. That's okay. So again, we're going to put these, we don't want to put a lot of these, and these lavender flowers are actually really small, so that's why we're even just giving smaller dots, even if it is to the bottom. And towards the further end we won't even add them because of these, the size of these flowers, they're not visible to us to the naked eye, although they might be there at that further end. Okay, so you want to put these at random in between. So just maybe a few tiny specks towards the top, but you want to make sure that they're like absolutely tiny. Okay, see, so just that. So those lavender specks actually make the painting look beautiful when you look from over the top. So we're almost done with this painting. Now is the point where we go ahead and add in our moon. So here I'm just grabbing my compass and we're going to add that nice large size moon. Okay, so you want to draw a circle. Let's draw it in that black region. Okay, so there you go. I'm gonna draw in my large moon. Okay, this is going to help me as a guide to create that moon structure. Okay, so I'm gonna grab in my white gouache to paint that moon. Okay, so here just squeezing that on to my little palette here. And let's start. Okay, so basically how we're going to paint this is we're going to wet that region, but when you're wetting it, make sure that you wet it in one circle. Do not go over it too much because then you would be disturbing the underlying layer of black paint, okay, which we do not want. And the reason why I'm painting this wet on wet is because we want to get some smooth edges to the moon region. Okay, so also do not take too much water because then it'll just spread unevenly. Okay, so let's move this out because I want to make sure that my hand works out. Okay, don't do too much of a strokes. Okay, not too much, just enough to get that white in there. Okay, without disturbing the underlying black. All right, there you go. I'm going to switch to a medium-sized brush, probably a size 6, so that it's easier and comes out better. Okay, so here we need to make sure that we grab densest of the dense white. So I'm just making sure that my brush is devoid of water. I don't want too much water. And then grabbing in the white, and here you go. So start along the edge, at the top edge, and because we've applied water, it'll start to spread out a little. That's okay. And every time you do this, you're going to pick up some of the black paint from underneath, because you've just actually disturbed the layer. So you might want to wash your brush even though there's paint in it if you're going to pick up fresh paint. Otherwise, you're going to put that back into your palette, and that's going to create a gray color, which is not great because we're trying to create a better white version here, isn't it? Then now I will come back and then go into the center, and here again, just going to apply that off, because like I said again, that's picked up a lot of gray back, which I really do not want. And then here, just gonna go ahead and make that nice circle. A nice dot there, and maybe, you know, some denser strokes, like as though it's the moon's craters. Probably we want to create some shapes like that. Okay, so there, I think that's more than enough for now. I'm just washing my brush now, okay, completely again, and going to pick up dense white. Okay, so we've done the run around. Now what we want to do is we want to drop in more of the white shades, because this, trust me, is gonna dry lighter, because there's that gray underneath. Okay, so we don't want it to dry lighter, so we want to make sure that it stays white itself, okay, rather than drying lighter. So here I'm just adding more and more white over on the top, okay, to make sure that we get the desired consistency. Okay, and let's see, we probably want to wait for it to dry a little bit, just a teeny tiny little bit, so that we can add in more white. Now it's still too wet. Okay, there I can see that it has started a little bit dry out now, so I'm just gonna grab more white. Okay, and can you see how it's lightened up at the top? So I want the top to be nice and bright. Oops, you can see it's actually started to dry out, but I guess that's okay. I can still work it out. Okay, this bottom part is wet and the top part has dried. That's okay. Let me show you how to fix that if it's dried up. So you can see that top part is dried, but that's okay. As soon as I just take in a little bit of my wet brush and start to blend along, it's worked out fine. See, it's just blended it. You just want to make sure that you blend your stroke. That's it. Okay, I think that's good enough now, and I just love the way this has turned out. If you want, you know what? Not just if you want. Let's just finish off with that beautiful part, because I just love it, and I think I'm just going to do it. Just going to add like a branch here, which I think will make this painting look beautiful. So you want to make sure that you pick up a very dense black color, and you want to take that black color upwards. Okay, something like that. There you go. I've painted the bark. Okay, see that? Added the paint. You want to make sure that your paint is nice and dense. Very important. And then once you've done that, I think I'm going to just shift to a smaller size brush, because then we would be able to add in smaller branches. Okay, see that? Okay, we want a lot of smaller branches, right? So let's go ahead and add plenty as well. Just adding a lot. Okay, you don't need to have everything connected. A lot of it being disconnected is actually beautiful when it comes to watercolor painting. This is something that I've learned over time. Things looking perfect is maybe too realism, which is not my style, but then maybe having, you know, lots of disconnected elements and letting your brain complete the scene. See how that's turned out? I just absolutely love it. Okay, so this is probably why you need to make sure that you have a lot of smaller branches. Okay, see, just adding a lot, especially towards the edges is where you want to make sure that it's got a lot of connections, because those will be like teeny tiny branches which are stretching out, and you want to make sure that your branch is like coming outward from the tree. Very important. I think that's more than enough, so we're almost done. I just love the way it's turned out. I honestly would have waited for this moon to dry out and then have maybe one branch growing over the moon as well. That would make it so pretty, but that's okay. So here you go. I am gonna dry this up and then we can remove the tape. Here you go. It's completely dried out, so now I am gonna remove the tape. And here you go, here's the final painting. So I hope you enjoyed painting this with me, and thank you so much for joining me today.